Thanks everyone for joining. This is the April Munch and Learn delivered by the HP developer community. My name is Didier. I'm the technical lead for the HP developer community. We have today with us Raj Mistry, and Raj will be the main speaker for this session entitled DayN Plus, a new way to look at observability. Before I hand over to Raj, I would like to do my little sales pitch on the developer community, and it shouldn't be long, and I'll pass it off to Raj right after that. All the links that are on this page will be provided to you on the chat by my colleague Denis in the background. So just so you know, the developer community has this Munch and Learn, which we started more than 3 years ago now. You can find the calendar and the replay of this series on the webpage here on our website. As I said, it's a monthly series. It's really about thought leadership, vendor and product agnostic type of presentation by some of the most senior people in the company. We have another session already in planned for May 21st. I don't have a final title, unfortunately, yet, but it's going to be about sustainability Insight Center. So you can mark this down. I don't have the links for registration yet, but that's coming up soon. In parallel to the Munch and Learn, we started 1 year later, so that's already 2 years ago, another type of session, more in-depth, and we call these Meetups. Again, a monthly series, more in-depth on technology, products from HP, but also from partners in some cases we have had in the past. We have 2 sessions coming up, one at the end of the month. It's always the last Wednesday of every month. So April 30, we'll be delivering a talk on private cloud AI, and that's kind of more like a technical demo walkthrough. So feel free to join for that one. Denis will provide the links for this session. It's already created, so you can register. It's available on the Meetup page. On May 28th, so last Wednesday of May, there will be a session on Computer Ops Management API and the developer ecosystem for COM. If you're interested, please join. This is going to be a really good session with lots of interactivity from our colleague Lionel. All of these sessions have replays, and you can find those replays on the Munch and Learn and the Meetup page. More recently, last September, we started a new series called Keep It Real AI Jam series. And these are a little bit different because they are panel discussions of experts on AI. And again, we try to keep those monthly and with a new topic every month still about AI. So the topic for next week, April 23rd, is developing and deploying AI in the enterprise. Again, PCE AI, private cloud AI, will be covered there, but more like in a panel discussions with experts. So this is for the webinars. You have other ways to skill up with the dev community, and this is with something we call the workshops on demand. Again, it's available from our webpage, developer.hp.com. We have a catalog of about 30 workshops that you can run 24/7, free of charge, and available over the internet. And we use a Jupyter Notebook experience, so you get pointed to a Jupyter Notebook platform, and you can run these workshops. And if you do provide feedback, so we know what you like, what you didn't like, we have things like getting started with Python, getting started with Rust, Kubernetes or Docker. And we have also product-based workshops on OneView, on the GreenLake API, on Sustainability Insight Center, and many other topics. So take a look, and you can use that to learn new technology. Finally, I'd like to say this is remind everyone that this is a community, and we need help to amplify and contribute, because this is how you grow and continue to operate a community. So feel free to join, of course, these talks, but also invite others to these talks. These talks are open. So actually, as a reminder, I'd like to remind everyone that the community is an open community, including partners, customers, and of course, a lot of internal people. So in the questions today, remember that, because we will not answer questions which are internal only. Okay, so we will run a webinar in June, early June, a private webinar, internal only, and so you can keep those questions for this one. But for today, this is an open talk, so keep it open. You can also join our newsletter. This is how you get every month, beginning of the month, we send the HP developer community newsletter. This is a good way to stay up to date with the new blogs, with the upcoming talks. We also have a Slack, a dedicated Slack workspace where we have channels for about everything at HP that can be interesting for a developer, anything that has an API, anything that you can integrate with. So you can go there and start discussing or help answering questions from customers. We also have an X Twitter account that you can follow with a huge amount of people. And finally, if you're an SME, a subject matter expert in any type of developer-focused type of subject, then we are interested to talk to you because writing blog is something we're always on the lookout for authors. So if you want to write and contribute, we have a webpage dedicated to this. It's pretty easy. We have a open source content management system. So you can contribute. All you need is a GitHub account. And so reach out to us also if you have a meetup that you'd like to propose, or if you'd like to participate to some of our events. And finally, if you want to help us with a workshop on demand, this is also possible. The framework is available. We just need people to develop more content. We have a number of channels or touch points, like the website, developer.hp.com, the Slack, the HP Dev Slack workspace. We also have an internal, that's for the HP guys, an internal HP Dev community Slack, and one for partners as well. We have this newsletter, an email, and these are the links to the workshop on demand as well. You can use the QR code to get all these links at once, or I think Denis has also pasted all the links in the chat. And with that, I would like to get started and hand it over to Raj for the content.
So I just want to provide a little bit of context and background before we go into the core of probably sort of like say the next 25 to 30 minutes. We ourselves as an organization have been on a journey helping our customers and stuff. One of the things that we've discovered as we've been helping customers to transform is a lot of complexity. And this is from what I call the IT operations model. So what we're trying to do now, as we've helped customers, we've done things to ourselves, and people are now transforming in terms of their deployment models, is work with IT operations teams, IT departments, together with lines of businesses to remove some of the inefficiencies when it comes to solving problems in the environment. The way that we tend to look at the IT operating model is the model is there to answer how basically you deliver on what the IT strategy is. So the way that we began working is more from a problem, outcome, and a customer-centric view in terms of what is the business strategy? And very briefly, it's a case of, well, why does your company or the people that we work with, why does it exist in the market? That's always then underpinned by the technology or the IT strategy. That's all about what does IT need to do to support the company's ability to meet its goals and objectives. That in itself then floats into the IT operating model. And that's all about how does IT need to operate on a daily basis to meet the goals of the IT strategy. So the model itself, and there are different definitions, but this is Raj's perspective, it combines organizational structure and processes that comprehensively controls the IT department and its ability to span the entire life cycle of the IT strategy, the architecture. I'll talk a little bit about demand and supply because that's quite interesting. The project management things that need to be implemented together with the infrastructure to support the applications and services that IT needs to deliver. So it's about how is IT set up as an organization to serve the users and the business, as what we've seen from what customers tell us together with what you guys in our partners and also our field are telling us is the increasing pressure that organizations are facing to optimize their IT operating model to fit what we see as changing business demands. So why is this thing called the IT operating model important? It is, like I said beforehand, alignment to the IT strategy. It's about delivering operational efficiency in an ever-evolving, complex, hybrid deployment world. Yeah. It's about scalability, being able to scale resources and people to deliver what the business is asking for in terms of customer-facing applications together with internal-facing applications. There's a massive pressure on cost efficiency, especially when it comes to infrastructure optimization. And then there's that age-old problem of managing risk and having the right information to make the correct decisions. So we've built the agenda today around four key areas, which is we'll give you a view of how we're seeing the market, and that's been built on what our customers say to us, what our partners say to us, and I'll also bring an analyst view in because, I want to make sure that we're not providing a biased opinion, but more of an unbiased opinion. There's been a massive debate, at least over the last 2 years, in terms of what are we talking about in terms of observability. So I'll spend a few minutes trying to talk about what is the difference between monitoring and observability. We'll look at what the challenges are based on client feedback and the work that we're doing with analysts in terms of what infrastructure and operational people are facing. And then we'll lean into what are the things that we thought about and how are we as a team looking to introduce a set of new experiences to help our customers, our partners, and our HPE community kind of like navigate things. Lots of questions, put them in the chat. More importantly, there'll be a Zoom poll pop up probably midway through my presentation and then the session today. Please, 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 like Didier said, participate in the Zoom poll because we're going to be driven by the kind of things that you tell us that allows us to basically create better experiences and focus on those things that are important to you, not what we think as the team within HPE. We spoke about earlier the kind of like pressures that, the technology organization or the CIOs or IT executives are facing. So I've summarized 5 key areas that are the typical things that our customers are seeing and the kind of challenges that we try and address. Nothing's changed over the last probably 8 years in terms of the expectation of the business. They still want things faster, cheaper. They want it service focused. They want to match an on-prem capability in a hybrid model to those things that they get from the public cloud, but they also want value-driven services, and we'll dig a little bit deeper in another session in a few weeks. From the IT organizational perspective, they're about reinventing themselves. So technology and operations are having to cope with massive complexity and new things that pop in either every week, every month, every day, every week. And that's the thing that we try and do as an organization is how do we address that complexity, volume, and velocity comes down to the risk management that I spoke earlier on. We've also noted some evolving pressures that have emerged, especially over the last 18 months. Security's always been at the forefront of things, but actually it's become a bigger kind of like challenge for customers to look at. Data sovereignty, especially across a number of geographies, is becoming more and more important. Sustainability with the introduction of things like DORA and then the recent introduction of the European laws has become the thing that we see. And also, how do we link back the strategy to the business strategy and remove the disconnect between the CEO, the board of directors, to what the IT organization does? Then you add the last thing, which makes it really, really hard for our colleagues within within the technology organization. How do you cope with all of this stuff? How do you keep all of the services spinning up, alive, available, and transform and make the decisions in terms of what am I going to do next? So that's the kind of things that we talk to our customers about, but then we back it up. So here's a snapshot that I took from Gartner back in 2021, and it was a real look at okay, this is what we're seeing. What's Gartner seeing as well? And most people listen to Gartner, and we seem to match up in terms of the areas that, we were hearing and the things that we were trying to address. One of the important things was talent shortages, and we can talk about that on another day. Maybe you want to pop something into the poll or the chat if you're seeing that. But you've got storage data, you've got automation, you've got people looking at digital workplaces, you've got different types of compute infrastructure and platform services. You've got networking, you've got security, and the bubbles, the bigger they are, the color they are, talk about that risk that I spoke about. Yeah. Now let's look at what's happened over the last couple of years since I took this snapshot. So this was December 2024. And if you can kind of like look at the 4 or 5 things I spoke around the edge of that circle, they've condensed themselves. So it's now cloud, edge, and data center. So the market shifted in the way that it thinks. Networking is still there. Operations has come to the forefront, really, and the digital workplace. The things that we found interesting within this thing and the things that we're hearing from our colleagues in the field and also our partners together with our customers is the emphasis on automation, monitoring, and observability has been something that infrastructure and operations are thinking about. I know for those people. And they're the core foundations that build up the operating model that links back to kind of like the IT strategy. More importantly, the speed and agility is becoming more and more important. Remember the pressures that I spoke about in terms of how the business wants things at pace, how they want to be able to demand stuff, and the IT department to be able to supply it within a blink of an eye, really. Resilience based on what the developer community has been talking about for a number of years, the emergence of cloud native principles, the way that you can do things. Resilience is now at the software layer, underpinned by what the infrastructure does. Yeah. Security still remains out there, really, and one of the biggest challenges, especially when you've got an understanding of where my costs are going to come from. That's an unknown, really, and that's one of the things that we continue to address. Again, big thing, stuff is changing really, really fast. How do we then enable customers to navigate that complexity? Yeah. Let's just take a quick look at what's been going on with the kind of environments. If you look at hybrid in general and the way that we define things, you know, people have built islands of clouds or things on premises. So dedicated IT for those kind of like traditional mission critical applications, maybe running on, I don't know, OpenVMS, could be UX, could be mainframe, that need to remain within the data center or somewhere else. And, they're just not able to run and operate in the public cloud. Yeah. People have been trying to build on-premise clouds for a number of years with different tools, making decisions on infrastructure, automation, orchestration, etc. Hosted cloud is coming back, really. Yeah. So don't want it in my data center. Don't really have a data center anymore, but I want to actually continue to have some form of on-premise presence, but I might stick it in a co-location, and we have different solutions out there for that. And the public cloud itself, really. So we're not anti-public cloud at HPE. We truly believe that based on application workload, unpredictability or predictability of that application or service, there's a place in terms of where you actually choose that destination. But at the end of the day, these cloud islands, and especially when you look at AI and new applications, specifically Gen AI, agentic AI, we're finding that data islands together with cloud islands are causing some of those complexity and those costs. Shadow IT has always existed. I don't think it will go away. The biggest thing from an operating model perspective is the people and process side of things. And our partners and our customers are addressing that, and we can help you with that too. Yeah. Monitoring versus observability. Let's just spend a few minutes explaining that, because from the conversations I've had with customers, partners, and also internally with colleagues, there's a kind of like, is it one or the other? For me personally, and the way that we're approaching things with the solution sets that we've had, you need both. Yeah. So Monitoring, if you look at our portfolio, you've got things like OneView, you've got Infocyte, you've got DSCC, you've now got Calm. They're elements of infrastructure management that have been around for decades, really. Yeah. Those of you who have been around for a while, I remember talking about insight control many, many years ago. But what does monitoring actually deliver when you've got pressures on keeping things available together with being able to scale stuff in complex environments where you're running traditional applications together with modern applications across a hybrid estate? So let's use the car as an analogy, really. Yeah. So we have cars that are modern, and when I look at modern cars, I normally look at things that are less than 5 years old. And then we look at cars that are less than or more than 5 years old. And that's a good perspective in terms of where we find ourselves with infrastructure today. So if you take the car that's less than 5 years old, you're on your way home from maybe taking the kids and the missus out over the weekend, you visited some relatives, or you could be on your way home from the office or a customer visit. You've got 120 miles to go in the car, and all of a sudden you're on the freeway or the motorway or the autobahn, and that magic kind of like gas light comes on, right? The fuel lamp. That's monitoring in action. It's telling you, hey, Raj, or Didier, or Adrian, you know, you're going to run out of fuel. So it's going to tell you that something is wrong. Why is it doing that? It's using predefined metrics and logs. So it's measuring how much fuel is in the tank and just kind of like telling you, are you full, empty, halfway through or not? So it's detecting the failure mode. Question for you guys then is how do I get home? Yeah. Have I got a can in the back of the car where I'm going to have to pull up, find a petrol station, or am I going to have to basically find roadside recovery so they can tow me to the nearest electric vehicle charging point, or it could be get me to my nearest filling station so I can give myself some more unleaded, super unleaded, or some diesel and stuff, and I can be on my way home. So monitoring's good, but it'll only tell you when something is broken. If you think about the pressures that we've discussed, that doesn't really fit today's market, but it's still a critical element of the tool sets needed for a comprehensive IT operating model. Let's switch the conversation to observability. Same scenario, right? But I've now got a nice modern car, a couple of years old. I could have a brand new one. Yeah. It's got smart infrastructure, better engine, better stuff inside it. It's got some really cool software and capabilities. Same situation. I'm on my way home. Got 100 miles to go. What the car does now, linked into the sat nav, it will go, hey, Raj, you've got 20 miles left in the tank. You've got another 80 miles to go. I can't seem to get you home, but I'm going to get you home because you've not got enough fuel. The car will automatically navigate you to your nearest filling station or EV charging point. So what am I trying to get to is the car will get you home now. So it adds context to what the problem is and why something is wrong. Rather than letting you run out of fuel, it's going to get you to basically a place where you can fuel up, charge up, get home. It's using the monitoring system together with other smarts, metrics, logs, traces in modern environments. It's diagnosed the problem and then it's giving you a view and so like saying, I'm going to get you home. So observability is about what and the why, complementing monitoring. So it provides better context. So we'll find things and fix things as we understand them. More importantly, we will tell you what you know and what you don't know. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is both of these solutions work hand in hand. They sit side by side, or one sits on top of the other. They are needed to move around that complex stuff that I spoke about earlier on. If I look at the challenges that basically we hear from infrastructure and operations teams that we speak to as they're navigating their way around making decisions, understanding what to do, how do they do change, all that stuff that we spoke about earlier on. There are 5 key areas that they that normally resonate well, or we get told. Yeah. So the ones that normally pop up are, I've got loads of information, data from various sources, but I don't know what to do with it. I've got it coming in, but I can't make any sense of it. Yeah. I've got basically an ever evolving hybrid environment. So I used to do some stuff on-prem. I shut that down. I moved some into the cloud. I decided that I wanted some stuff in colo. I'm using a combination of all of those things. How do I understand what's going on? Yeah. Can't seem to find the people. So there has sadly been an influx based on things that have been happening in the market. There's lots of people out there. The feedback that we get from a lot of customers is there are people out there, but they don't have the necessary skills. So there's a decision point that needs to be made. So that shortage of IT talent is becoming increasingly a pressure and something that at least CIOs, IT directors, even business leaders are actually considering as they seek to embark upon newer experiences, going back to what are the things that my business needs to exist in the market. Yeah. The top two are kind of like really, really interesting. The left, the wasted spend and the increased risk is something that customers are seeing. So how can we work with them to become more efficient with their cost, also avoid things like infrastructure optimization? The operating model is the top right. So how do we take a better approach around digital initiatives whilst balancing some of the traditional stuff that may retain in an environment, because that's what's needed for our customers to do what they need to do for the industries and the customers that they work with and operate under. Supply and demand is an interesting conversation. I spoke about it earlier on. And there's always been this constant kind of like, I don't want to say conflict, but balancing act, a really good balancing act that people have had to do. So when you think about the IT organization, they are the suppliers of solutions to meet the demands that the business is putting on them. And there's been a constant struggle for the many decades that most of the team have been around in terms of balancing it. Add that to new stuff coming out daily, weekly, monthly, whatever. Roadmaps keep changing. New trends. So, we've moved from Gen AI to agentic AI. We've moved from machine learning to deep learning to neural networks. The technical debt is an interesting conversation as well. So it's not just about aging infrastructure, it's about the processes that are in there as well. Yeah. You have to innovate faster. Things are just getting more competitive, and that's the demand that's coming in from the business when they're kind of like saying, hey, I need to scale to another 100 stores, or I need to add two more kind of like product lines to my shampoo division, as an example. The limits with supply is coming down to people. So, you know, how do we get more for less? How do I basically budget properly? How do I upskill my staff in this new way of working whilst I'm still handling some of this old stuff that comes down to the legacy management? How do I keep my team up to speed with all those trends and that complexity that's going on about? So the things that we're trying to do, and we'll talk about soon, is how do we try our very best to help customers with this balancing act around what's being demanded to the ability to actually supply those services. I'm an applications guy. Didier and the team know that, although I do have a background in infrastructure. So for me, applications are key. And if I think about what customers are doing and what our partners help together with ourselves, we provide infrastructure. On top of that, you create a platform, and the platform is the software elements that do the monitoring, the infrastructure management, the automation, the orchestration, the continuous integration, continuous development, the things that make that infrastructure alive on which you then deploy your workload, probably an application. Yeah. With that has a use case, and with that you have that defined outcome, coming back to aligning the IT strategy to the business strategy. Three interesting things that we hear from customers. Yeah. as you try and balance modernizing the traditional applications, the things that have run their businesses for 30, 40 years, built on old operating systems, old databases, hot iron, and I love hot iron, but you need to do something with it, together with taking advantage of AI assistance or all the other kind of things that you may want to do. That spaghetti of understanding that relationship between the applications and infrastructure is growing in complexity. When things go bump in the night, the IT teams are finding it ever increasingly difficult to kind of like say, where did that happen? What happened? Was it my app? How's that impacting my end users? Right. And we all know how unhappy or dissatisfied end users can be when they lose a service. So the thing is what we're trying to solve is what part of my infrastructure is actually causing the problem. So if we can help you efficiently map your infrastructure behavior all the way through to the end user experience, and we aim to give you 50% of these capabilities. Remember, the focus is on the operating model. If we can improve triage capabilities, the ability to understand where the problem lies, identify it, and then resolve it, troubleshoot it, improve service level or uptime of key applications, manage the impact of any revenue that goes pop when an application goes down, protect your systems more efficiently by having a holistic view, then that's not a good thing. That's not a bad thing, really. Yeah. So a little bit on OpsRamp and the way that we are now beginning to describe it. If you think about what we've discussed, what we've heard, what I've said really, is it's complex. There's a lot of noise happening, a lot of data coming in. How do I actually get my head around it? So the way that we think about it is if we help you see, hear, and understand, then get the data and give you the insights that then enable you to take the right corrective action to keep things stable, ensure scalability, drive operational efficiency, manage that risk thing, and also keep a good tight grip on that efficiency and cost at both a kind of like infrastructure level together with infrastructure optimization, then we're on to a good thing, I think, really. Yeah. So that led us to one of the things that we were hearing is this thing sounds complex, guys. It sounds a bit too hard. So we kicked off a new project about 7 weeks ago, to kind of like say, how do we help our customers, our partners, together with our field, have this conversation around the IT operating model and the way that HP addresses this from a cross-portfolio perspective. So I'm showing you some screenshots of a new site that we're planning to basically launch in the not too distant future that provides a centralized place to allow anybody, customers, partners, our kind of like colleagues in the field, to get the best out of your investment. So this is now a set of things that sort of like say, hey, if I've got OpsRamp, the observability platform, as a new feature set with infrastructure that I bought under GreenLake Flex, how can I work with it? What's it going to do for me? How do I get value from it? Together with the things that we embed into our integrated solutions like Private Cloud Enterprise, Private Cloud AI, and things like that. So what we've done then is kind of like said, okay, we've listened. We've listened to our customers, our partners, together with our internal colleagues. Off the back of that, we looked at what was being asked, why was it being asked, more importantly, how do we kind of like help people learn, see, and explore that next phase, that DayN plus, to improve the operating model that then underpins the IT strategy, that then is basically enabling the business strategy. So we've looked at it from a customer perspective, the customer journey, really, in terms of how the client thinks, partners think in terms of the activation, deployment, setup, and then how they get value from it. a lot of thought went into this. So we thought we wanted to make it easier. How do we create easy, digestible content, stuff that you could probably listen and read on the move, look at your leisure? So we've come up with a series of videos and blogs to help with that day zero to what we call DayN plus. Yeah. And that starts from actually, I've got this thing. How do I activate the OpsRamp capability within my GreenLake platform experience? Because I bought some compute and storage. I've got my monitoring tool set up, but I want to actually take things a little bit further. What does deployment look like? How do I set this thing up? How do I basically get the initial discovery done? And then how do I evolve based on my evolving use cases? So a series of things that the teams are building. There's 7 or 8 videos in the first phase that we will launch in the not too distant future, with at least another 15 to 20 planned, as we will help you understand how you move from what we call discovery, understanding what's out there, so the things that you know, dashboarding those things, or providing a view, so what I know, what don't I know, to event and incident management when I look at it from an operations perspective, all the way through to AI correlation and AI ops, really. So we've got a plan and a phased approach in terms of delivering these. The first set will be focused on the activation, the initial deployment and setup. We've got a couple of value-based things in terms of what you can do, i.e., use Redfish for integration to see what's happening with my server estate as an example, or setting up cost profiles, etc., or setting up trending profiles, creating views for different people within the environment so it makes sense to them in terms of understanding, am I being efficient? From an operational standpoint, a cost standpoint, where are my risks, to the bigger things in terms of service management, etc., around reducing tickets, auto remediation, those kind of things. Important things to know. Yeah. Your subscription key is included with every single GreenLake Flex solution, and we'll explain that. We've revamped some of the document sites to make it GreenLake platform specific. We still have the original docs.opsramp.com for those people who want to use the SaaS solution. But for our GreenLake based customers, we've created some new content to help you get going. More importantly, like Didier said, we're a community. So there's a Slack channel that's available. It's over there, hashtagged over there, and that's available in the dev Slack. So going back to what Didier said at the beginning, join the community, help us, because the next phases will be driven by you guys once you've had a chance to look at the initial set of releases that we're doing. Yeah. Coming soon based on demand for our account support managers and customer success managers, we'll do a more detailed session or series of sessions with you that are kind of like more focused on the latter end of the customer journey, which is around the onboarding, the adoption, and also the optimization of the solutions, really. And that's across the board, from getting the best out of your infrastructure through your monitoring tools to how does that observability actually land and give you a holistic view, an improved view of what's going on across your hybrid estate or your actual GreenLake environment. Yeah. That's it from me. I'm going to hand over to Didier just to close off. Thank you for having me, and hopefully we should catch up soon.
Any question for Raj about observability, monitoring, OpsRamp? That's an interesting question from an anonymous attendee. Can you describe what comes by default with GreenLake?
Oh, okay. That's a good one. Thank you, Anonymous. Depends what you mean by GreenLake. So you think about GreenLake as a platform that delivers different experiences. So if you want to have architectural and operational control of your infrastructure and software, it's like what I would call a like going to a DIY store and building your shed. So you can define your infrastructure. You can put your own software, or you can use some HPE stuff. So that's Morpheus, that's OpsRamp. That could be something like VM Essentials that wraps it up and puts it in a platform. With that, you can add your monitoring and solution software. So that's one end of it. So you can cook your own kind of like solution, or you can take a different view and go, I want a private cloud, or I want a AI solution that comes completely off the shelf that I want to deploy in my data center, or a colo complementing something that I may do with an AWS, Azure, or GCP. In that, it's completely shrink wrap. So you get deployment, self-service, automation. We manage it for you. You come in via the platform, you enter it based on credentials, roles, and stuff, and you either provision or you consume services that are presented to you. Hopefully that answers that question, Anonymous. Give me a thumbs up. Yeah.
Maybe if the question, it didn't say, but if the question was about GreenLake Flex, maybe we can add that the bundle that you get allows you to monitor and the GreenLake Flex hardware that is part of your deal.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. Yeah, correct. Yeah. So in GreenLake Flex, you get OpsRamp included. You get your infrastructure management for either compute or storage or combination of. Then you get your kind of like cost performance and your metrics and metering stuff involved included. Yeah.
Do you see the question, Raj? Because a few came up and I don't want to.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's
okay.
loads actually. So
Yes.
they've come alive. Thank you, crowd. Uh, Seeing as slide monitoring and observability, can we say that observability is a process of maintaining real-time software infrastructure components? Ah, that's a really interesting one. Okay, cool. So I'm going to take anonymous number 2. Um, so we complement. So software depends what you mean by software. So we're growing our kind of like capabilities in APM, application performance monitoring. But if you think about it from an SRE or a DevOps standpoint, we can look at, the pull through Git through the SDLC. Yeah. Now, what we can also do is troubleshoot and look at challenges in the environment and then highlight them to you in a dashboard perspective. So if you imagine if you logged on at 8 o'clock in the morning, we would tell you what's red, amber, green. We would tell you if you're using something like ServiceNow or BMC Remedy, what tickets have been raised, where they are in resolution and stuff. That's an interesting one. It's a difficult one without really understanding the context. If anonymous attendee number 2 wants to basically contact us via the Slack or something, maybe we can take an offline chat. What is monitoring observed from non-HP equipment? So OpsRamp is vendor agnostic. Yeah. So we don't care. Yeah. So if you're thinking about non-HP equipment like stuff from IBM, Dell, it could be Cisco stuff. We basically can support that as well, together with stuff in the public cloud. There's a license expansion plan to move outside of the HP estate into the public clouds and non-HP hardware. We've got plenty of customers where we're doing multi-vendor. Yeah. Does OpsRamp support anomaly detection? It depends at what level. So we can detect anomalies in terms of network traffic or CPU monitoring, memory things, and kind of like say that doesn't look right. So hopefully that answers the question. If not, please come back to us. Yeah. Do you have any insights on the progress of OpsRamp and sustainability insight? Or will it be tackled? Probably tackled in the next presentation. Yeah. We do have some capabilities within OpsRamp which underpin sustainability insight center. Yeah. Cool. Have I done it all, Didier? Yeah.
While there's a few more questions, but I started the end of session poll before
Ah, okay,
we lose
cool.
too many people. This is just to get feedback on the session itself. There's another question from Frederic, and last one's from Surandaran. Maybe you want to take a look. Oh, Frederic, you did. Sorry.
I've done sustainability. Yeah. So
Yeah, this is the
Frederick,
last one.
yeah, that's one. can we have some sort of internal training on OpsRamp to understand? Yes, of course you can. Yes. Just reach out to us. Yeah.
All right.
And to Manal, yes, we will be sharing links to resources and stuff for you. So that will be available on the developer website, won't it, Didier? Yeah.
We will have the replay and
Yeah.
the PDF of your slides within a week. And then when this website comes up, there will be more, as Raj explained. Thank you, everyone. I think we're going to close for now. We got thank you for answering the end of session poll. We're still missing a few people, so if you want to do that before you leave, that'd be very nice from you. And if not, then we'll talk to you next week for the jam session. If you're interested in AI related topics, most of us are, I guess. And then at the end of the month for the meetup on a PCAI. Next month for COM. I'll try to get the title for the Sustainability Insight Center sorted out as soon as possible so you know what the next Munch and Learn is all about. And with that, I think we're going to close. Oh, we got one more question that came up.
One more question. Jeez. Right, let's have a look.
And then, oh, that's an interesting one because it's about a GreenLake customer. So they already have an item tool like SMAX.
Ah, okay. If I'm an existing GreenLake customer and I already have an item tool like SMAX from Micro Focus, why should I look at buying OpsRamp by HPE? That's a good question. Why would they? So it depends on where the clients are in terms of their transformation. And if so when you say HPE, is it HPE managed services that are operating some stuff? So this is about really having a good conversation with the client in terms of, are they looking to move to a fully managed services for all their stuff, or are they going to retain operational control for some elements, which is where they use SMAX from Micro Focus? Can't give it a definitive without really understanding more about where the customers are. But, good question. My view is like, we need to really speak to the client to understand a little bit more. Yeah, there isn't a black and white answer to that one, sadly. Yeah.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you, everyone, for sticking with us. And we'll talk to you soon at the next webinar. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.